Magic Bliss! And collectors of all kinds! That is about the maximum effort you're going to get from the pug right now. I'm recording this on a Friday afternoon because my dad is out. And I want to record at home with the pug. Like I did last week. Also, speaking of last week, I did promise you guys a Yu-Gi-Oh deck this week. So that is what we're going to do. But if you stick around to the end of this Yu-Gi-Oh video, I have a extra pack for us to open today. A friend got this for me at work. I'm not going to say who, because I don't want to embarrass them, but I really appreciated it because this was a really rough week. And so I was actually thinking about not going in today, to be honest. And then I went in and things weren't as terrible as I was expecting them to be based on the way the rest of this week had gone. And then the friend surprised me with this, which was really nice. I'm going to actually open the curtain and risk it because my dad is not home. And I want you guys to be able to see all the beautiful artwork for these cards because this is a special deck. I feel kind of bad that I've put off the Yu-Gi-Oh for a bit for you guys. Although I've come to the realization that I'm going to probably have to do that more frequently than not because we are starting to burn through our Yu-Gi-Oh decks pretty quickly. I only have, if memory serves, I believe I have 47 total decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm not planning to build anymore. If I go back to the playing again in, say, Edison format or in the new Genesis format or something like that, I'm just going to edit some of my older decks into playable decks for those formats. So, yeah. With that said, I chose this playmat because A, is Yu-Gi-Oh! And B, there are a couple dragons on this deck playmat. Beautiful Slifer over here. And Ruthless Raw. Screwed up the name I wanted to go with. Anywho, I picked that because I'm calling this dragon. I'm calling this deck Look to the Stars, which is a reference to a movie. I've kind of hinted at already what the reference is, but I don't want to spoil why I'm calling it that. So instead of doing the extra deck first, like I normally do, we are actually going to do the other half end of this deck first, and then work our way up to all the shiny stuff, because there are a lot of shiny stuff in this deck. First off, we've got a nice cost down magic card here. And then a Synchro Boost. So this is going to be a Synchro deck for the most part. Brain Control. Another big hint, by the way, as to what we're doing. Limiter Removal. Another big hint as to what we're doing with this deck. Gravity Blaster. I like this one, actually. This is an interesting one. You can only equip it to a machine monster once per turn. You can permanently give it 400 extra attack. So even if this gets knocked off, it's going to still have that 400 attack. And then, if it battles an opponent's monster, that monster's effect is negated during the battle phase only. So this is just like a killer equipment card for machine decks, which I've always liked that. And I think I only have a couple copies of it, so... Swords is a classic for any good Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Dark Hole. This one's pretty beat up. I think it's actually from one of the original starter decks, yes. This is from my brother's original Yu-Gi starter deck. So while, yes, it's pretty chewed up, it is actually pretty precious to us. Because my brother only played with me for the first arc or two. He, when the show first came out and he saw how excited I was, he got himself a Dark Magician deck, and I got a Blue Eyes White Dragon deck, and we used to play with each other. And so all of the cards that he had left over, because he didn't want to keep them, I kept myself, of course, and I treasure them dearly. I'm just trying to fix the screen. Sorry, guys. Brief view of the pug. I have to go down and make lunch after this. We're actually a little bit late for our lunch today, which is why he's annoyed with me. Monster Reborn, classic. 7 completed, needs to be in there for a machine deck. I only have 1 copy of it in this deck because I think I only actually own maybe 2 or 3 copies in total. And I have 6 different machine decks, at least. I think there's 7 even, maybe. I have a Ring of Defense and a Ring of Destruction. I am pretty happy with that. It took me a long time to find a Ring of Defense. I had the Ring of Destruction for a while, but pretty cool combo in the cartoon or in the anime if you've ever seen it. And it does actually still work in the game as well. So when this thing during your opponent's turn, target one face-up monster your opponent controls whose attack is less than or equal to their life points, destroy that face-up monster, and if you do, take damage equal to its original attack, then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the damage you took. And then this one, when a trap that inflicts damage to you is activated, make that effect damage equal to 0. So I don't know if that will then negate Ring of Destruction's damage to my opponent. But I've just always thought it was kind of cool that the combo happens in Kaiba's deck. Kaiba! So I wanted to have it in a deck of my own. Just adjusting the camera stand ever so slightly. Secret Blast. I don't know when my dad's going to be home, so I may suddenly have to cut off this video or at the very least close the blind. But like I say, there's a lot of really beautiful artwork in this deck that I want you guys to be able to see, because this is one of my favorites. Oh, there's a little piece of crap in there on the sleeve. There we go. Metamorph is super important in this deck. I'm going to show you why in a little bit. One of my favorite creatures is actually in this deck, and no, it's not the one you're thinking of. Call of the Haunted. Wall of Disruption's a fun one. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, all attack position monsters your opponent's controls lose 800 attack for each monster they control. So if they try to swing out at you with a full board, all their monsters will lose 4,000 attack, and then your little weaklings can probably wipe them out. This is a fun one. I don't have the combo in this deck, but I think I have it in another deck where I combined this card with Scapegoat. And so when somebody swings out at my Scapegoats with all their creatures, then this will reduce their attack significantly, and therefore my Scapegoats will survive. It's kind of fun. Level Returner. That's kind of fun to do with the cost down. Helps me with the synchro summoning and stuff in this deck. Curse of Darkness. This is a fun one. Each time a spell card is activated, the controller of that spell takes 1,000 points of damage. Little fun tidbit to throw in here. I do have quite a few magic cards in here, don't get me wrong, but not as many as you might think, so there's a good chance that this might actually affect my opponent more negatively than me. Heavy Storm Duster. Beautiful copy of that. Another one that has a little bit of fuzz or something inside the sleeve. I've got a Trap Stun, the Gold Collection version. I know the Gold Collection is kind of like very frowned upon by a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players, but I always thought they were kind of nice, except for the fact that they break apart really easily. And this Acid Trap Hole is actually one that I got from the video game. It was like a special include into a video game along with a couple other cards that you will see in a bit. So, yeah. Really happy with that one. At least I'm pretty sure they all came from the same one. Could be wrong, but I think they all came from the same one. Oh no, that one actually is not the one that came from that one. I do have an Acid Trap Hole that came from the one that I'm thinking of, but this is not the right one. I must have put it in a different deck, not realizing. I never switched them around. So the reason I have the Metamorph is because one of my favorite creatures of all time in the game that I just never was able to really play a lot, and to be perfectly honest, a lot of people wouldn't anyways, is Zoa and Metal Zoa, which I thought was a fun one to include in this deck. So most people will not choose to run Zoa and Metal Zoa because, you know, Metal Zoa doesn't really get much of anything out of being put into play after you sacrifice a Zoa with Metamorph on it, but it's still pretty radical looking. And these two came from a video game, and there was a trap hole that came with that, but I have that in a different deck, like I say. We've got a few non-effect monsters in here. Guardian of the Throne Room, Overdrive, Oni Tank, T-34. Impasse She is probably one of my favorite cards of all time. I've always loved this card, especially the flavor text on this card is pretty fun. A log that attacks lost travelers in the forest. Originally a big tree, it was cut down and possessed by a wicked spirit. I've always thought that was a fun one. Plus, it's got a pretty solid stat line, 1600, 1900 on a level 4. Construction Train Signal Red is an interesting little guy. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can special summon this from your hand, and if you do, change the attack target to this card, and then do the damage calculation, but this thing can't be destroyed by battle that turn. Or by that battle specifically, sorry. So it's just a fantastic way to save something on your board, and then next turn hopefully Synchro Summon. Dralago. Salvage Warrior to help me get back some of those tuners. KA2 Des Scissors. I've always liked this one. It's kind of a fun little guy. When it destroys a monster and sends it to the graveyard, as a result of battle, you get to inflict damage to your opponent's life points equal to the level of destroyed monster times 500. I believe there's another creature in here later on that actually has a very similar ability. I'm just trying to remember if I actually have that one in this deck or not. No, but I have them in another deck together, I guess, which is fine. Cyber Raider, classic. Pretty solid card to include. Swift Scarecrow. Kinetic Soldier. Blast Sphere is a fun one. Gets rid of something pesky on an opponent's board. Boganian is another fun one, just to deal some extra damage to your opponent each turn. Lion-Hearted Locomotive. I like this one in combination with the train signal one. I think they're funny together. When this thing declares an attack, its attack becomes half its original attack until the end of the damage step. Reflect Bounder to go with my Cyber Raider. If you've watched the anime, you know which two cards those two go in a deck together with. And what the third card in that set is, which is coming up shortly too. Synchro Explorer. Buster Blaster. Buster Blaster is a fun one. It unions with other creatures. So you basically use it as an equip spell. Genix Neutron. Nice limited edition copy. Electromagnetic Turtle. Another one. Quillbolt Hedgehog. Fiendish Engine Omega. These two I've always liked together. MZ Infinity and Fiendish Engine Omega. I think they're fun as a combo, if you can get them both on the field together. So, the M's the Infinity. Each time this card destroys an opponent's monster and sends it to the graveyard as a result of battle, increase the attack of this card by 700 points. And during your end phase, you can special summon one engine token in attack position, and once per turn, you can have this card gain 1,000 attack. If you do, you have to destroy it during the end phase, though. They don't really play off each other in any way, shape, or form, but just the way the names go together, I always thought was kind of nice. Plus, there's one light, one dark, so yeah. This guy, on the other hand, I actually like a lot, and he makes a lot more sense in this deck. You can normal summon or set this thing without tributing, but its original attack and defense become half. Basically, it's just a really good way to do a quick synchro summon with a high-level monster. And then Jinzo is the third one that goes with those two I was mentioning earlier. The Reflect Bounder and the Cyber Raider, which all belong in Esperosa's deck. So, yeah. Alright, now let's look at some really cool tuners. We've got a Jet Synchron, Yes, we are doing that kind of deck. Hence why I called it Look to the Stars. Drill Synchron. Quick Span Knight. The only one that's not really a Synchron. Quick Draw Synchron. I have 2 copies of Junk Synchron. One that's a limited edition. And then just one regular one. I have an Unknown Synchron. Also that's a first edition. Pardon me. Road Synchron. Road Synchron is probably one of my favorite ones. If this thing is used for the synchro summon of a monster other than Road Warrior, its level is reduced by 2, so it becomes a level 2 instead. And if this card attacks during the end damage step, increases level by 1 until the end phase, so you can make it into a level 3 at that point. Kind of neat. Satellite Synchron. Assault Synchron. That one's pretty badass looking. Love the artwork on that one. Couple traps here too. Tuner Barrier in particular is a good one. Just in case you have issues. And then we've got a few really special cards for this deck. Scrap Fist, which goes well with the Junk Warrior. On your mark, get set, duel. Beautiful copy of this. Camera doesn't really capture how awesome the shininess and artwork is in this one. Stardust Trail. Starlight Road, probably the most beautiful card. Limited edition. It's a little bit damaged on the side there, but it's still a really good copy. And Final Cross. Alright, let's get into the extra deck for you guys. So basically the idea of this deck is, just real quick actually before we get into the extra deck, for people who don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! The idea is you need to get these monsters on the field together with any of these monsters on the field. And you need to match up the number of stars. So if you played this one with this one, level 3 combined with a level 6, you could make a level 9 monster. You have to make the exact number based on what the total stars is in all the cards that you're using as part of the creation of the new monster, though. In a lot of my other decks, you've seen the purple cards where you need to use the magic card to make those ones happen, the fusion cards. But in this deck, you actually just have to have these two on the field. One of these and one of these, or possibly you might have to have a couple of these. There's a few that even require 2 or more of these. But the idea is you get a bunch of these on the field and then you can just mish them together. You don't have to do anything extra, which is kind of nice. Speeds up the game a little bit, but not to the extent of the craziness that was our wonderful introduction of Link summoning, which there is one Link monster in this pile of extra deck. It's a pretty big pile. But I don't intend to actually probably play it ever, to be honest. It just kind of fits well with the theme of some of the other things that are doing token stuff in this deck, so that's all. It's the main reason why it's in here. I'm just deciding which order I want to show them. Yeah, we were just going to go in the order of the pile as it is. This is how I usually keep the pile, so why not? We've got ourselves a Stardust Warrior. Beautiful, beautiful copy of that. Satellite Warrior. Road Warrior. He's probably one of my favorite ones in this deck. I like how powerful he is, and I like that he can just bring out random extra stuff from my deck to help out, too. And do more synchro summoning. Junk Destroyer. That one's pretty beefy looking. He reminds me of, like, a Transformer, to be honest, that one. I'm trying to remember which one in particular, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Nitro Warrior. Kind of a spooky looking one. Junk Archer. That one's got some serious bling to it. As does the Stardust Charge Warrior, which I believe I have 2 copies of. Don't I? I do not. Pardon me. I thought I did, but apparently not. Junk Gardener. Actually, you know what these all really remind me of? They look a lot like oh, crud. Metabots. Thank you, brain, for coming back to me. Turbo Warrior. That's what they remind me a lot of, is Metabots, to be honest. Turbo Warrior. I basically collected all the different ones that I could and put them into one big pile. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to run them all when I played the extra deck if I were to play this as a tournament-worthy deck, but hey, I'm the Lord of Forbidden Decks for a reason. I have 2 Junk Warriors. One that is just a regular nice little artwork, and then that one's pretty shiny. Junk Speeder. ×2. Excel Synchron. ×2. Formula Synchron. There's the one I was talking about that is a Link monster. Uh-oh. Are you hearing the neighbor's dog barking? Yeah? You're not liking that? Are we gonna go have to yell at the neighbor dog? Can I finish my video before we go yell at the neighbor dog? Oh, big stretch. Yes, I'm almost done. Celestial Double Star Shaman. Phonon Pulse Dragon. That one's pretty. I love the rainbow effect on that one. Rampaging Smash Tank Rhino Saber. That is a hilarious name. And for the best artwork in the entire deck, a quarter-century Stardust Dragon. Just trying to see if I can get the actual quarter-century stamp to show up properly on here. There we go. Without having to take it out of the sleeve. So pretty. So pretty. I also have a Stardust Spark Dragon. Another Stardust Dragon that is not that artwork, but is still pretty. An Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon, which is probably one of the most expensive cards in this deck. I think the last time I checked, this thing's worth like $50 or $60. It might have gone down by now, but... Shooting Star Dragon. Shooting Quasar Dragon. And then just for shits and giggles, I threw in a Cloud Castle. Just go back, Ed. I'm going to see if I can get it to show up a little bit better by pulling it out of the sleeve for you guys, so you can really appreciate the quarter-century art. It is so gorgeous. I would love to be able to be pulling some of the full art Yu-Gi-Oh cards right now, but unfortunately I cannot afford to be drawing into a game that I don't play, let alone the game that I do play. Wait, I said that backwards. I can't afford to buy cards for a game that I do play, never mind a game that I don't play. So, yeah. But this is my Stardust deck. Or, as I like to call it, as I said earlier, my Look to the Stars. Which is a reference to Dragonheart, in case you didn't catch that reference earlier. Sean Connery, such a good movie. I don't really know if the other ones are super great or not. I remember watching a couple of the sequels, but I'm not like a huge fan of them. But the first movie was insanely good. All right, let's rip this and get you out of here. And then I've got to post the park trip videos from last week, which should finally be done rendering in the whatchamacallit for me. Okay, this pack is done the right way. Cool. So the token on the back we already spoiled by accident, but it's a robot token. And the other side is a mutagen token. Alright. Now if I remember correctly, the land should be next. Do we want to show the land? And we'll just leave it to land. Why not? Screw it. Anchovy and banana pizza to start us off. When this thing comes into play, destroy a creature, tap it, pay 2, sacrifice, and gain 3 life. Do you like penicillin on your pizza? High Flying Ace. 2 and a white, flying. Pay 3 and a white. Target creature without flying gets flying until end of turn. Not bad. Nice to meet you, Botticelli, or whatever your name is. Tell your boss to send some scarier goons next time. Ace Duck. Mouser Attack. 1 in a red. Gets you a colorless robot, or you get to give +3/+0 and first strike to a creature. Not bad. For me, all things remain strictly business, and today's business happens to be extermination. Baxter Stockman. Insectoid Exterminator. Well, that worked out really well. 2 and a black for a 2/2 flying. At the beginning of your end step, if a permanent left the battlefield on your controller's turn, you get to scry 1. Interesting. Crustacean Commando. 1 and a blue for a 0/3. When this thing enters, make a mutagen. Wondering what I've got in the box? Pain, soldier, and lots of it. There was no flavor text in that one. Okay. Nobody. 1 and a combination of 2 blue or red. 3/2. When it enters, return up to 1 other target artifact you control to its owner's hand. Scry 1. I don't need a name. I'm nobody. Foot Elite. 2 and a white or black. 2/4. Whenever it attacks, another target creature you control gets +1/+0 and indestructible until end of turn. Neat. The Neutrinos. 2, a red, and a white, flying. Whenever another creature you control enters, this thing gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Starts as a 2/4, so that's not bad. Whenever this thing attacks, exile up to 1 target creature you own, then return it to the battlefield under your control, tapped and attacking. Huh. That's an interesting way to get around, like, say, propaganda and stuff. And it's a neat little blink thing. It could be a fun commander to build. The Last Ronin's Technique. 3 and a white, or pay 1 and a white to sneak it in. Create 3 1/1 white Ninja Turtle Spirit creature tokens. If the spell's sneak cost was paid, they enter tapped and attacking. Cool. Turtle Lair! Yay! I was hoping to actually pull this one, and I don't know if I actually had yet or not, so I'm really happy. Home is where your pizza delivers. Taps for colorless. Taps to add 1 mana of any color, but you can only use it for a ninja or a turtle. Pay 3 and tap. Target ninja or turtle can't be blocked this turn. Cool. Leonardo Big Brother. Sneak 1 white, otherwise it's 2 and a white to put into play for a 1/3. It's +1/+0 for each other creature you control. Ooh, he gets big. You sneak him in, he's gonna smack hard. Agent Bishop, man in black. But he's a white card, so that's kind of funny. 2 and a white for a 1/2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Ooh, nice. Utroms, Triceratons. There's little difference to me. I help one destroy the other, pick up the pieces, then get them the hell off my planet. Ray Fillet, Man Ray. Okay. 3 and a blue for 3/3, flying. When it enters, create a mutagen token. Pay 2. Remove a +1/+1 counter from a creature you control to draw a card. And Dimension X. Gain a life. taps are red or white, which will go really well with the neutrinos. Cool. I like it, I like it, I like it. Alright. Hope you guys have enjoyed this deck profile. And you'll see this, of course, like I say, on Sunday. But I'm filming it on Friday. And Kaiba is now reminding me that he has not been fed, and it is time for his lunch. So, much love to you all from Kaiba the Pug, and myself to you. Take care. We hope that you guys have a good week, and that you'll tune in for the next episode. Love you. Bye.